In this week's episode of the Ask the Big podcast, we're going to be answering the question, how do I get my listings to sell faster? Stay tuned.
You're listening to the Ask the Bick podcast, where you'll hear answers to the most frequently asked questions from North Carolina real estate brokers. Submit your questions via email to askthebick@gmail.com. That's askthebic@gmail.com.
Well, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Ask the Big podcast. My name is Russ Lockamy, and I've been a broker in charge in the Raleigh, North Carolina area for going on 13 years now. And this week's question comes from a couple of our agents here at my firm, and they ask, how do we get our listings to sell faster? Well, with Neil Mathweg, our firm's coach at Agent Rise, we've kind of developed this system of the C and 4 Ps. It's a great name, kind of corny, but that's what we come up with here at our firm. And it's basically acronym or whatnot. And the first one, the C, is for communication. So it kind of seems weird. You want to get to, how do I sell my listing faster? Where do I find the buyers, and where do I put it on the market, and get the most eyes on it? But it starts with your client and communication with your client. So the very first thing you want to do is make sure that you're having at least a weekly update call with your client, even if nothing's going on. And that's going to help you out later on, and we'll talk about why. But if you've got that communication back and forth with your client, and they know every week they're going to hear from you, they're going to feel like you're at least doing something. So if it sits on the market longer and you're communicating with your client, you're going to do a lot better than agents and that aren't, and your clients are going to feel like you're at least trying to help them get their home sold quickly. Also, communicating with other agents. So we've got a lot of great automations with our showing services that send out feedback forms and things, but there's nothing like actually getting the phone and calling another agent to hear their voice and what their client thought of the home. You can get a lot more feedback from them than just a form that gets sent automatically. It's also very, very important too if you have any price reductions or any changes with the home, anything like that, or just to follow up after a little while. If somebody showed your home, a buyer's agent showed a listing that you've got, and you haven't had any action on it later, just follow up with them, see where their buyer's at, if they're still looking, and if they've got something under contract. That communication can get a buyer for your listing that's sitting and not doing anything. The first P is for pictures, and of course we're going to recommend that you get professional pictures. The days of taking pictures on your phone or even with a nice camera. Our firm has a camera, but most of our agents don't even use it anymore, because professional photography has become so much more affordable and so much better than it used to be. So make sure you're touching base with professional photographers in your area to get the best pictures you can for the listing. But it just doesn't stop there. You want to really tell a story with your photos, and for the longest time I would view uploading my pictures as like I was walking through the home, like giving the buyer a tour through the home. But it's so important that those first few pictures really tell the story of the home and showcase the best parts of it, because many times buyers are not going to get through all of the pictures. They're going to list through the first 4 or 5. And if you go on websites like Zillow or even our website that we have, when you pull up a listing, what you're going to see is not just a big picture of the front. Yes, you're going to see that, but then you're going to see a preview of a few of the other pictures as well. So you want to make sure that those other pictures, those 4 or 5 first pictures, are really great, and not just 4 or 5 pictures of you walking into the home. Now you want to show that remodeled kitchen, or that big backyard with a pool, or the pond, and that kind of thing. So make sure your pictures are telling a story. Make sure you're showcasing those best pictures up front. The second P is for property. So we got communication, pictures, and now property. And this one can kind of get a little bit, a little bit difficult, when you're working with your sellers, because this is what we're talking about, and it's talking about the home that they live in. This is their home, right? But we're trying to see the property from a buyer's perspective. How do they feel when they walk into it? How does it smell? Is it clean? Is it cluttered? Things like that. And I like to compare it with like Disney, because I love Disney, and I love Disney World. And, they put a lot of thought into how their customers feel when they go into a park. They'll push out smells and change the way things look, and they have a specific green color that they use on trash cans and different stuff. But they put a lot of thought into how their customers feel. And you got to do that. You got to put yourself in the buyer's shoes. When I walk into this home, how does it make me feel? Always be continually updating the property too. So if there's some mulch that we can put around the bushes in the front yard, if there's some sprucing up of some paint on some, railing on the outside, anything that we can do to kind of continually spruce it up until we get that house sold. After we talk about communication, pictures, property, and that communication, again, that helps, talking about the property and the things that you want to keep updating and keep doing if you've got that continual communication. But the third P is price. So again, with the communication, if you are continually communicating with your client, you're letting them know the feedback, you're kind of updating them, even if there's nothing going on, the question is going to come up about price. And many times, if you're having that communication, you're not even going to have to bring it up. Many times the sellers are going to bring it up to you. So you're less of the bad guy and saying, hey, I think we should drop the price, when they haven't heard from you for a month, So that continual communication is super important on that. You got to listen to the feedback, whether it's, listed in a automation, feedback from a buyer's agent, or just, a bunch of showings but no offers. That is feedback about the price. Maybe, there was other things that they said in their feedback, but if we're not getting any offers, then that's the market speaking to us. So you may have to look at doing a price reduction. And two, keep an eye on where the property is priced at right now. So if you've got it priced at $410,000, well, you're missing out on a lot of buyers that are looking up to $400,000. So, try and keep it at or below those big thresholds like that. And another thing that I always suggest to my agents is to set up searches. So you're going to want to set up, when you get a listing, a search for your competition and your comparables. So if new homes get listed and they get listed for less than your home that you have listed, or if something sells and changes kind of the CMA, that is going to want to be something that you give information to when you talk with your sellers on their weekly update calls. And then, of course, anytime we do a price reduction, we're going to do an updated CMA just to see what else has changed. Another tip, after you've done all these things, is to post. That's the fourth P. So you got your pictures, your property, your price, and don't forget to post. Of course, we're going to post it on the MLS, but there's a bunch of other places that you can post a listing for sale. And one of the most overlooked ones is Facebook. And not just like posting it on your page, but Facebook Marketplace. So you can look at posting it just in the marketplace, on different groups. Even Craigslist is another place. Like, you're going to get some weird characters, but it's another place that you can definitely list. So, and there's a ton more. I've got a whole list of them. So if this topic interested you and you want to see the list of other places that you can list your home, shoot me an email at askthebic, that's askthebic @gmail.com, and I'll get that list over to you. But I hope this answers some questions that you had. And as always, my name is Russ Lockamy. If you like this content, please like, subscribe, leave a comment below if you've got a question that you want featured on a future episode. And, always remember that life is short. So take action, but don't take it too seriously. Have a great week.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Ask the BIC podcast. To have your question answered on a future episode, email us at askthebic@gmail.com. That's askthebic@gmail.com.